leader is hero, and humble type heroes. One leader that I found in the media recently that does a good job of demonstrating the leader is hero mindset is Anchorage, Alaska Mayor Dave Bronson. Dave Bronson is a fairly new mayor. He came into leadership during the pandemic, and some of the qualities that he's demonstrated are things like making decisions on what he thinks is best and what he feels is the best decision, not listening to other advisors and other input. He's very ambitious. He is very self-confident. He's very comfortable making risky and daring decisions regardless of who they upset. We can see that demonstrated in some of the headlines from Alaska media sources, looking at Anchorage Daily News, looking at Alaska Public Media. One quote says, 2 months into his first term as Anchorage mayor, Dave Bronson doubled down on his commitment to oppose COVID-19 public health measures and took a confrontational tone about his relationship with the assembly. That right there is very indicative of, what I already stated, that he's comfortable making risky and daring decisions. He's willing to contradict others. And another example for him, leader as a hero does not look to take a lot of advisement, not interested in seeking a lot of advice. Alaska Public Media, just last week, the top advisor, Craig Campbell, is among several departures from Bronson's administration this week. So this is one more example of where Dave Bronson is not taking the advice of others, and so his advisement team is departing. Now, contrary to him, we can look and see a different example of leadership in the humble style leader, looking at Ann Zink, who is the Alaska medical director. Dr. Zink has been heralded and is really beloved in the community. She has a Facebook page, has been just followed incredibly closely and respected throughout the pandemic. No one, I'd never heard of her name prior to that. I think most people in Alaska hadn't really heard her name before that, unless you were in the medical field. And she was the one who began giving COVID-19 status updates and case counts on a daily basis. She would do public announcements. I believe we had them every day for quite a while, and then they switched to being less frequent. But during those, she really exemplified the humble leader. She was willing to answer hard questions. She asked other people for their expert advice. She would have a live video conference every day, provide the data and the information, and then allow people to ask questions, and she would answer those hard questions. And she would also have others participate in those live sessions that could answer the questions she didn't know the answers to. So she wasn't looking to answer all the questions herself. She wasn't looking to be the end-all, be-all and have all the knowledge. She was looking to draw on other experts. Another thing that is something Dr. Zink does is she is constantly working in the medical field. She's out there in, getting her hands dirty. She works in the Matsu Regional Hospital in the emergency room department, and so she would do these live videos and she provides all this kind of information to the public, but she's still out there in the nitty-gritty, doing the dirty work, getting her hands involved in what's going on every day. And so she's very well respected because she has that humility sort of leadership style. She was easier to find simply because she's someone that I follow and I'm more aware of. Mayor Bronson I'm aware of, but I don't pay super close attention to a lot of the headlines with regards to him, because he's not a leader that appeals to me or resonates with me. And being a leader in a state where I no longer live, I really am pretty dismissive of him, but I do still have a lot of admiration and respect for Dr. Zink, so I found that easier to find information on her. simply because I'm more interested in following her, and so it was easier for me to go back and find sources with her. Chapter 2 of our textbook talks about different characteristics of leadership, and specifically leadership in operational roles. The characteristics I think would be most valuable for a leader in an operational role would be a leader's intelligence and cognitive ability, their judgment, decisiveness, their perseverance, and tenacity. I think that those would be most important because in an operational role, you really have to be able to observe a lot of things about the environment and things that are happening quickly, changing quickly. You have to be able to, one, have that cognitive ability to recognize what's going on, what's happening with your environment, what's happening with your equipment, what's happening with your people, and anticipate what's going to happen. And so right along with that, not only do you have to be able to take all that in and recognize it, but you need to have the ability to have good judgment and make a decisive, quick decision so that you get your team through the different challenges that come along. And again, because of those different challenges, that's where perseverance and tenacity are going to come in. Your team's going to most likely doubt you or challenge you. There's going to be different things that are completely beyond your control and your team's control that you have to adapt to. And so you really, as an operational leader, need to have a lot of perseverance and tenacity to not feel beaten down and not give up in those kind of situations. Now, a leader in a collaborative role, their most important skills or traits are going to be different because what's expected of them is different. So in a collaborative role, they need to be able to have people work with them. And so in order to do that, they need the ability to enlist cooperation. They need to be dependable, and they need to have strong interpersonal skills. Really, dependability, being dependable yourself, is key to having good interpersonal skills. If you are not a dependable person, people are not going to trust you. And strong interpersonal skills really start with trust. So once you have that trust, you can kind of build forward to interpersonal skills, how you relate to people, recognizing what's going on with them, recognizing their hesitations, helping overcome those hesitations, and that's going to allow you to enlist their cooperation. You need to be able to enlist their cooperation so that you can get their input and have them collaborate and work with you. If you can't enlist cooperation, you're not going to be able to get your team to collaborate. Leadership styles. In thinking back to prior supervisors that I've had, it was really hard for me to come up with one from each different style. I have had situations where I really needed a directive style. I didn't know what was needed, and that was really tough. I just found that really challenging, but unfortunately I didn't have a leader that was capable of having a directive style like that, and as a consequence, I did not thrive in that job. I didn't feel like I knew what needed to be done. I didn't feel like I was capable of being successful, and I consequently left that role. Now, the leaders that I've had who were more supportive style or participative style, those I found really encouraging, particularly the supportive style. But I think one of the most effective for me would have to be either participative or achievement oriented. The thing I like about achievement oriented is that it's very clear what the goal is that we're working towards, and once I know what we're working towards, then it's really easy for me to complete and close the gap between where I am and what the goal is, what that achievement is. So I think definitely achievement oriented is probably my favorite and where I thrive the most, because again, I just feel like that's a really clear path for me, and I feel like if I know what is needed, then it's easy for me to accomplish that.